I've heard you say that that don't worry, it'll get bigger if I ignore a feeling that I'm...
Well, to be really accurate, whatever you focus on gets bigger. Whatever it is, wanted or unwanted, whatever you're focused upon gets bigger because your point of attraction gains momentum.
Right, okay. So would I be correct in saying that if I have a disease process of going, something that's happening in my body, a diagnosis, it is something that I've ignored. It was small to begin with. I ignored how I was feeling, and that it grew bigger and bigger and bigger until it got my attention. Is that accurate?
Give us a little more. What do you mean, is it accurate to say? In other words, are you saying if something's completely not realized by you, can it get bigger?
I'm saying, for instance, I have an injured knee, and I'm assuming that this didn't just come out of thin air. It came out of me blocking my energy there for years.
So it's really helpful, rather than trying to figure out how I got to this place that I don't want to be, to stand in this place, and as things happen that make you realize, I don't prefer this, I would prefer this, then do your best to think about what it is that you are preferring. Now, that sounds easy to do. It isn't exactly easy to do. That's why we're using a new terminology. For a while we have been. Look for easy existing matches. Rather than saying, my knee hurts, I want a knee that feels better. Well, asking for a knee that feels better while you've got an active vibration going on that my knee hurts doesn't get you anywhere. It just practices the tug of war. It practices both ends of the stick at the same time. But when you realize that the discomfort of the hurting knee has caused you to launch rockets of desire. So the request is already in. Step 1 has already taken place. Step 2 is already underway too, because your inner being knows what your path of most allowance to that recovery is. So your work is whatever it takes to keep you in the best feeling place, which usually is not trying to figure out what to do about your knee. It's looking for the benefit in other things. It's looking for the benefit where you can find it. It's looking for the good feeling where you can find it. Or you could be more specific. You could say, well, I remember when that didn't feel so good, and now that's gone, and that didn't feel so good, and that's gone. Your bodies are so responsive to this vibrational frequency. And if you can accept, hear it, we're going to speak it bluntly, boldly, loudly. Your inner being knows what you want and knows how to call the behavior from the cells of your body to accomplish it. And if you're not in the way, then it happens. Now, what puts you in the way? Worrying about it, fussing about it. We don't mean to say that the path of least resistance may be completely without some sort of action. We do mean to say that you cannot find the path of least resistance until you have less resistance. And worrying about something is not the path of least resistance. We touched on this earlier when we said you could be sick and be happy, because the condition does not need to dictate your vibration. And if the condition does not dictate your vibration, then your point of attraction is free to be whatever you want it to be. Now, there's a sort of mastery in that. Almost nobody doesn't notice when they've got a throbbing toe. You just do, but you don't have to. And the more you reach for easy existing matches, then the more you'll be able to connect the dots and see the improvement as it happens.
Okay, so I'm not, because I felt like if I ignored my feelings all this time to end up having it be this big, I don't want to keep ignoring that. But you're saying don't ignore it, but think of something better.
Here's the thing. There's a little bit of a false premise going on here, because you haven't ignored what goes in society that talks about decline with age. You haven't ignored noticing other people that have had similar experiences. You haven't ignored the television commercials that say 1 out of every 5 has it, and you're probably the one. You can say that you've ignored it, but you could have not been aware of it, you say, but that's not even really accurate, because it's only the active marbles that equal your point of attraction. And so if you say there were no active marbles, we say, yeah, there were some active marbles that you were aware of.
Beautiful, right.
But sometimes the active marble says, need to do something about this, and then you override it by saying, well, I don't want to go down that path, and I don't want to go down that path, and I don't want to go down that path, so I'm not going to do anything about this. But that didn't change anything energetically. Do you see what we're getting at?
Yes, yes.
And so sometimes it's good for things to get big enough that you make a stronger intention about them. And if we can convince you, oh, this is so good. We're going to say it in 2 different ways. We've been saying to all of you for a while that when you want something enough, it almost doesn't matter what you believe about it, if your desire is strong enough. And so in this situation, what we want to say is that your opinion about what's going on is like a belief. A belief is just a thought you continue to think. But an intention can be entirely different and can become more present, more often, more dominant, and therefore more influential to the outcome. We want to find a way of saying nothing is just happening to you, and everything that is happening to you or to anybody else is because you are inviting it through thought. And you've just got to accept that. When you say, well, I invited it through thought, but I didn't know I was inviting it through thought, that's why it got big enough that you now know that you're inviting it through thought. So never mind trying to justify, well, I didn't invite it, and I didn't invite it, and I didn't invite it. And the snarky Abraham that knows how law of attraction works wants to say, then how do you think it got there? In other words, nothing comes uninvited, and that's hard to hear. But as somebody said earlier, we will never say you didn't create it, but we're willing to say you didn't do it on purpose. Most people do not give that much awareness or consideration to their own negative emotion. Most people ignore their guidance system because it's normal to feel a little unhappy or to be a little worried. Everybody sort of is. And so you just don't think very much about it, even though every time you feel negative emotion, you are blocking a desire from coming about, a desire that your inner being is full steam ahead on. Full steam ahead on. Think about what that means. When you put it over there and your inner being gets focused upon it and the cooperative components get gathered, there's energy flowing toward your desire. And if you're not going with it, there's a tug of war going on within you, which equals every disease known to man. That's what it is all about. It is about denying the natural flow of the energy. Now, you want to say, well, inner being, you're not being that helpful. Maybe you could let up a little bit. Because if you weren't going toward what I said I wanted, then me not going there wouldn't be causing me a problem. Well, that is a human way of thinking about things, isn't it? But your inner being knows who you are and what you want and what the possibilities are. Your inner being knows that your body is trillions of cells of intelligence that are offering a vibration, that are, if you allow it, in sync with that broader perspective. And so your inner being is transmitting to all of the cells of your body every moment of every day, transmitting and eliciting from them the cooperation that is required in order for you to live the way you want to live. And if it weren't for those stubborn opinions that you've picked up along your way, that you keep being so sure that they are right that you're willing to sacrifice your alignment for them. This is a powerful statement that we're making here. I'm so sure that I'm right that I'm going to ignore finding something that feels better. Because why? Because why, friends? Because I've been taught as a human that it's right to sacrifice and it's normal to feel bad and the struggle is important. So you've picked up things that are not in alignment with the way the laws of the universe work, and you're proving to yourself how the laws of the universe do work. So why not lighten up on yourself and give yourself a chance to let your inner being have a clear conversation with the cells of your body?